Let me ask you something. Have you ever known someone hard with you? Then one unexpected moment you saw it, how fragile they really were. That moment changes everything. You realize the hardness wasn't indifference. It was the opposite. They cared too much. And this was the only way they knew to make someone stay. Circe was that kind of person. Most remember her as the witch, the one who turned men into pigs. Almost no one asks, why? What was she afraid of? Here's the story. Odysseus and his men, drifting, lost, came to an island. He sent a scouting party ashore. They found a palace, lions outside, wolves outside, but the lions didn't attack, the wolves didn't attack. They wagged their tails like house dogs, following the strangers. Most people skip this detail, but Homer didn't write it by accident. Those animals used to be men. Circe transformed them, but she never made them suffer. They walked beside strangers, tails wagging. Something in them still remembered what it felt like to have someone close. The men walked into the palace. Circe welcomed them, food, wine. Then, one small motion of her wand, they became pigs. But Homer adds one more detail. Their minds stayed human. They knew what they were. They knew what happened. They wept. Later, Odysseus came for her, sword drawn. Circe didn't fight back. She knelt. She said, "How do you resist my magic? Stay," she said. "I won't hurt anyone else." Odysseus made her restore the men. Then he stayed for a year. I want to stop right here. This is a question almost no one asks. Circe is divine, daughter of the sun god Helios. She has power, magic, an island of her own, but she lives there, alone. The men she transforms are the ones who arrive on her shore. Here's the question. If she only wanted to hurt people, why not just kill them? Instead, she turns them into animals, lets them stay on her island, lions and wolves, wagging their tails outside her door. She didn't want to kill anyone. She just couldn't let them leave. That difference matters. Psychology has a name for this. Fear of abandonment. Someone with this wound doesn't think, "I want to hurt you." They think, "I need to make it impossible for you to go." Magic was the only language Circe knew, the only way she'd learned to make someone stay. She wasn't born cruel. She simply never learned how to let someone choose to stay on their own. So she used the only tool she had, control. I want you inside her mind for a moment. If Circe could speak honestly, it might sound like, "They keep coming. They always come. They eat my food, drink my wine, sleep in my palace, and then they want to leave. They always want to leave. If I let them go, they won't come back. No one comes back. So I make them stay. This way they can't leave. This way I don't have to watch another person walk off my island." Then Odysseus arrived. He was different. He said no, sword in hand. He wasn't afraid of her. Circe knelt, not because she lost, because for the first time someone stood in front of her. Real, unshaken. Not frightened off, not controlled, just there, looking at her. In that moment, Circe didn't know what to do. She had only ever learned two ways to relate to another person: cast a spell, make them stay, or be alone on this island. She had never learned a third way. Circe's story is more common than you think. Control doesn't always look like a wand. It can look like, "You worry me so much," used to limit where someone goes. "I've sacrificed everything for you," used so they can never say, "I want something different." Anger used to teach someone which words they're not allowed to say. Or in the workplace, a manager who makes the team feel like nothing works without him, hoarding information, hoarding credit, making everyone feel they need him to survive. That's control too. But people who control are rarely cruel by nature. Most of the time, they are simply terrified of being left alone. Psychology tells us someone who repeatedly experienced abandonment growing up, real abandonment or emotional abandonment, develops an intense need to make themselves indispensable, not because they want to hurt anyone, because that's the only way they ever learned to make someone stay. Circe turned people into animals, but those animals wagged their tails outside her palace. That image says it more clearly than any words could. She just didn't want to be alone. Here's something that might sit wrong with you. You assume people who control are strong. They're not. People who control are often the most afraid. Their hardness covers one deep question. If I don't control them, why would they stay? And underneath that question, another one. If I have no magic, am I even worth loving? When Odysseus held his sword to her, Circe knelt, not because she surrendered, because for the first time her magic failed, and someone still stood there. In that moment she didn't know who she was. Her entire identity was built on one thing. I have magic, so you stay. Without it, who is she? That question might not be unfamiliar to you either. Odysseus stayed on Circe's island for a year, this time by his own choice. In Homer's telling, that year she was good to him. She stopped using magic. She helped him prepare for the dangers still ahead. Someone for the first time stood in front of her honestly and chose to stay, and Circe changed. I keep thinking about the difference between Circe and Calypso. Calypso gave without ever asking what you wanted. Circe controlled because she never knew another way. Neither goddess could make Odysseus truly stay. But Circe, after he left, let go. No spell, no holding on. Maybe that year was the first time she learned keeping someone doesn't require magic. Let me ask you something. Have you ever in a relationship made it hard for someone to leave and told yourself, that's because I love them? And one more thing. If you took away that method, took away the control, took away you can't live without me, what would be left of you? Because the real question was never will they stay. It was always, if they were completely free to choose, would they still choose me? That question is hard to ask, but it's the only one that matters. Because the world isn't what you think it is. Wu Talks World, see you next time.